All for coming today. Before we get started, just a few reminders. Please silence your cell phone. If you have a question, please approach the podium, state your name and what station or newspaper you'll be representing. Chief White would like to introduce his executive team. Assistant Chief Charles Fitzgerald, Office of Enforcement. Deputy Chief Arnold Williams, Eastern Operations Metropolitan Division. Deputy Chief Jacqueline Pritchett, Western Operations. Commander Michael McGinnis, Professional Standards Bureau, which is over Internal Affairs Investigations. We also have Captain Robert Mitchell, Metropolitan Division. We have Deputy Chief Tiffany Stewart, and also Deputy Chief Franklin Hayes. Just a word of caution, we'll be showing video that contains profanity or harsh language, therefore viewer discretion is advised. Chief White?
All right, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for being here. Yesterday at approximately 6:30 in the evening, I was notified of a video that ultimately turned viral on social media. A copy of the video was forwarded to me and I watched it. Initially, as many people, I was offended. In fact, I was outraged by what I saw. We are certainly a welcoming city, consistently have been a welcoming city and an inclusive city. Our goal is to never oppress anyone, and everyone is entitled to their perspective. We support peaceful protests. Again, we support peaceful protests. Our job is to make sure that everyone has the appropriate space to voice their concerns and express their views. Their activities are carried out in a lawful manner is our goal. That everyone's activities are carried out in a lawful manner and everyone has an opportunity to express their views. As I indicated, we are a welcoming city by policy, we're a welcoming city by practice. After reviewing the video, I immediately activated the department's Professional Standards Bureau, directing that an immediate and expedited investigation be conducted. As will be explained over the course of the next few minutes, a substantial amount of context evidence has been obtained. This press conference was pulled together to provide the community with an overview of what took place. That's going to be presented by Deputy Chief Williams. Also to provide an overview of the investigation to this point, and also what the department's next steps will be, and that's going to be handled by Professional Standards Commander McGinnis. At this time, I'd like to ask Deputy Chief Arnold Williams to come up from Eastern Operations.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Deputy Chief Arnold Williams. I'm the Deputy Chief over Eastern Operations in the Metropolitan Division. The Metropolitan Division is a division that has a number of specialized units under it. One of those units is tasked with responding and overseeing protests and demonstrations. Their job is to ensure that those protests are done in a peaceful manner and also make sure that no rules or no laws are broken. So on the day in question, this unit, which we call a mobile field force, they were deployed and they were making sure that the demonstration that was, we actually had 2 demonstrations that were scheduled. They eventually combined, and that unit made sure that both of those demonstrations were done in a peaceful and lawful manner.
Again, I think it's important to understand that by practice and by policy, our department is welcoming. The goal is to ensure that everyone has a voice to express their concerns regardless of what they may be, as long as it's done peacefully. We have a responsibility to provide peace not only to the protesters, but to those who are living, working, and visiting our city, regardless of the location of the protest. And that's the overwhelming concern for us as we go out day in and day out to provide protection for these events. At this time, I'm going to have Commander McGinnis come up and speak to the investigation and where we are and what the context evidence has provided us. Commander.
Thank you, Chief. My name is Michael McGinnis. I am the commander of Professional Standards Bureau. That includes our Internal Affairs Unit and our Force Investigations. My units investigate misconduct, serious egregious misconduct conducted by officers. It's not uncommon for us to conduct these investigations and submit warrant requests to the Wayne County Prosecutor's Office, which ultimately result in officers being criminally charged. We hold officers accountable. Last night, I received a call from the chief, and he demanded immediate action into this matter. It was shared with me a video, and I watched it, and echoing the chief's sentiments, I was appalled. I immediately began communications with the Mobile Field Force Command and activated our video asset recovery team to ensure that any video evidence that was available was obtained so that we could process it. I'm going to show you the first video that was shared on social media last night. It's important to note that there is language in these videos, so sensitive viewers should urge caution. It's about 15 seconds in length, and this was shot from one of the protesters' cell phones, focusing at the officers of Mobile Field Force and specifically a lieutenant. Please play the video.
I'm not even Mexican, you fucking idiot. Because you're Mexican, you dumb idiot. Go back to Mexico. Racist motherfucker. Racist motherfucker. Palestinian.
Is it possible to elevate the volume? I don't know how the volume was for the audience in the room here.
Why don't you just go back to Mexico? I'm not even Mexican, you fucking idiot. I'm not even Mexican, you fucking idiot. Because you're Mexican, you dumb idiot. Go back to Mexico. Racist motherfucker. Racist motherfucker. Palestinian bitch. Palestinian bitch.
So as you watch that video, it seems like the lieutenant had made a statement that was derogatory towards someone's race or their national origin. I think any viewer would probably interpret that the same, seeing that video, hearing that very short clip. So now I'd like to play about a 1.5-minute long body-worn camera video from this same encounter that captures more information and provides more context. So what we've learned since yesterday evening is that the protester that the lieutenant was engaging was recently out of town on vacation in Mexico, and the lieutenant was aware of that, and his comment was related to her returning to vacation. When you add that context, it changes the egregiousness of the interaction, and though it does not eliminate concerns that Chief White has, it does change the storyline. We are evaluating for policy violations. Steps that we have taken immediately is, as we said before, Internal Affairs has initiated an investigation into this matter. The lieutenant has been relieved of his duties related to Mobile Field Force, and he's also been placed on administrative duty. Our next steps include to continue the investigation. We need to obtain and process additional video evidence. We need to interview witnesses and evaluate our policies for so we can identify what misconduct, if any, this investigation discovers.
Thank you, Commander. The video that went viral is extremely concerning. Fortunately, other video exists that we were able to review and to provide some context of what occurred out there. Notwithstanding that fact, I still have some concerns about the lieutenant's conduct, and therefore, as the commander indicated, we're going to continue with the internal affairs investigation. He will bring me the finalized investigation, and I will look at it and look for policy violations and how we can be better going forward. With that, I will take any questions.
Hi, Chief.
How you doing?
Everyone, Sean, Channel 4. So we understand the video and the context now. The person said was told go back to Mexico. She believes that means her Instagram is being monitored by DPD. How would he know that so quickly, or was he previously aware of this person and looking at her social media, and if so, why?
Well, what this investigation has revealed is there's a lot of communication. This particular protester has communicated his marital status and a few other details that we're looking into as to how she obtained those and precisely what's going on with that. Commander, you want to come up and if you got anything to add to that?
Well, you're saying that she's been sharing personal details about this particular lieutenant.
Yes, members of this protest group we believe, there's evidence to suggest that they've been posting personal information about officers. And so it's evident from the video that there is some sort of knowledge both ways between the officer and the protester and the other way as well. And so that's going to be part of our investigation, that we're going to determine exactly who knew what, when, and how.
Got it. But Chief, I understand. Why engage like that when you see the engagement and the personal engagement?
Well, like I indicated, I mean, certainly the biggest part of this we were extraordinarily concerned about, and we wanted to get to the bottom of and get all video assets that were available to answer that question. And as I started this presentation, we support peaceful protests, right? Peaceful protests. And we're never going to interfere with that. My expectation for a lieutenant is that they perform at a high level, that they lead the men and women of this department, and that you don't get into that personal engagement so there's no room for someone to misconstrue anything. This is not what we're looking for from our lieutenants, and we will deal with that when the investigation is completed.
I'll get out of the way for Simon. I did want to ask you, DPD had to arrest a firefighter over the weekend. Is there anything more you can add to
Yeah, it was a very busy weekend. We're looking into that as well. I'll have something to say on that once I review all of the evidence with that. I will tell you he's been released. I've been focused on this and looking at all the evidence all morning and all afternoon. I'll have more to say on that in a little while.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Hi, Chief. Simon from Channel 7. Two quick things. When you look at that video footage, and we're listening to your explanation, but at the same time, you've talked a lot for a long period of time about officers being held to a higher standard.
Yeah.
How does that apply here just from what you've seen?
Well, I think it's evidenced by the fact that he's been relieved of his assignment. And certainly he's in a administrative duty capacity right now until the conclusion of the investigation. When we looked at this, we certainly saw the biggest issue for us was that, look, we train to teach, and by practice, we are an inclusive department. This is not a thing. This is or a theme. This is who we are. It's interwoven into the fabric of this organization, whether it be through DEI, whether it be through the training, me hiring my number 2 from the Michigan Department of Civil Rights when I came back as chief. So this is who we are as far as inclusiveness. So obviously when I heard that comment, I was very concerned. It's contrary to every message that I put out, and we needed to get in front of that and find out what's going on. And doing so, we see the context, right? We see the context, but that does not say that we don't have some problems and how this whole situation went. And that's where the focus turns to now. Policy, procedure, and the conduct of a member of this agency.
Okay, just one other quick question. A video was posted to YouTube, unrelated, of a 16-year-old who was running from police. and discarded a firearm, and there was a shooting involving the officers. Is there anything else you're able to tell us since the release of that video, or anything in addition that you want to stress or emphasize pertaining to that other story?
No, I mean, you know, we have the Homicide Task Force, which is led by the Michigan State Police as it relates to that investigation. I committed months ago with a new policy to be transparent, even more transparent with the community, and release videos of officer-involved shootings and to explain what the officers were encountering. We submitted that to the prosecutor's office. A no charging decision came out. That's a very transparent process, independent of me. I don't influence that process. That investigation goes to the prosecutor. A no charging decision was made. As the video showed, the young man was armed with a gun. The officers were in pursuit of him. The gun is removed from his waist. He has the gun in his left hand. And very quickly, the officer, feared for his life, discharged his firearm. Fortunately, the young man was struck in his leg. The officer immediately secured his weapon, then secured the suspect's weapon, and then went into a life-saving mode for the young man. And he recovered from his injuries, and he's currently in custody right now. He was charged by the Wayne County Prosecutor's Office. And a point of correction, he did not secure the weapon. He went into a life-saving mode. The weapon was far enough away from the suspect at that time that he didn't have a risk of grabbing it again. It was maintained there until the evidence techs arrived.
Thank you, Chief.
All right, thank you.
Hi, Chief. What can you tell us about Cortez Rab? And this is Ingrid from Fox 2.
Hi, Ingrid. I know who you are.
Hi, good
Give me
evening.
some context in the incident.
Cortez Rab basically allegedly got out of officers' custody at Henry Ford Health.
Yeah, as I indicated, we had a very busy weekend. I've been very focused on this. My assistant chief has been keeping me informed on that case, as well as the deputy chief. So at this time, so she can provide you more intelligence on the issue than I can, because I've been focused on this, I'm going to bring up the deputy chief over the west side to talk about that case.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Jacqueline Pritchett, Deputy Chief West Side Operations. From what we know is that the young man was arrested earlier in the evening. Allegedly, he had a seizure at the scene. He was conveyed to the DDC, to the Detroit Detention Center for housing. From there, he went back to the hospital, to Sinai Grace. There was a unit there from the 8th Precinct who was there on a previous arrest, conveyed this young man. But one got in the EMS rig with the EMS. The other one followed the car to Sinai Grace for this young man to be treated. While there, he went to use the restroom, and when he came back to secure him, he was able to flee. And officers pursued him through the hospital, and he was able to get away.
Was it Sinai Grace or Henry Ford?
So I think Henry Ford Hospital.
Okay.
I misspoken.
Can you state that over? Because I'm trying to do I want to use your sound bites correctly.
Okay, so early Saturday morning, this young man was arrested in the 5th Precinct. He was conveyed to Detroit Detention Center. While at the Detroit Detention Center, he was sent to Henry Ford Hospital for treatment. Members from the 8th Precinct who was there on a previous arrest were tasked with taking him to Henry Ford Hospital. So one officer was in the EMS and one officer followed in his vehicle. They got the young man to Henry Ford Hospital. He went to use the restroom, and as they were bringing him back into the room to secure him, it's when he was able to flee and run from the officers and able to escape.
Okay, so what was he in police custody for? Like, what can you tell us about this man?
You know, since it happened in the 5th Precinct, I'm not certain because I'm on the west side. Chief can give you more about the arrest. I just know about what happened after he was detained.
Well, since you know about that, what happened that he was allowed to go to the restroom? I don't know. Like, what's the policy on that? When a person is in custody, they need to go to the restroom. Are they, how do you do that?
So let's start with your first question. What was he in custody for? He had a felony warrant, and he also had a charge. I think it was felony resisting obstructing. I'm not sure. But it was felony resisting obstructing, and a felony warrant. We're confident. We'll be able to track him down. It's just going to take a little bit of time, and we need the community's help with this. We don't think he poses a threat to anyone else. and we have some resources dedicated to finding him. But he needs to turn himself in. With regards to the restroom, obviously, we got to provide that service. And then when they're a threat and a prisoner, and the officers are there on prisoner detail, one of the requirements is that you escort the person and give them the requisite privacy that they need. We're looking into that too. I mean, we need to understand, was there 2 officers escorting him, 1 officer? I'm also hearing, and again, I apologize, I've been so focused on the earlier story that I haven't looked at this report, but I think he struck one of our officers as he was fleeing, and we'll be looking at our policies and see if there's any policy violations with that. We also think that he knows our system, and he knew that if he indicated he needed to go to the hospital by policy, we will make sure he gets there. And so we'll be looking at all of that, and we'll update as possible.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Hi, I'm Darylyn Horn with WWJ. Does this officer involved in this video have a history of misconduct?
Well, I mean, I have to look into all of that, and I'm not really prepared to get into the details of his history today. But all of that will be taken into consideration if any discipline comes from this.
And I was at this protest. How many people were arrested? Just curious.
My understanding is 4 people detained. You want to talk about that, Arnold?
So overall, there were 2 people who were actually arrested, and they were housed at the Detroit Detention Center. There were 8 others who were detained, ticketed, and released.
Thank you.
Anders Gutierrez with CBS Detroit. I was speaking to the organizers of one of those groups who said the arrest took place after the event was over, that these officers from this unit pursued them and then made the arrest. Do you know why that was the method of the execution of those arrests, or at least the detainments?
Well, I have to get into that. I don't think that this incident that we just spoke of a moment ago is tied to those arrests. I think those are independent situations, and so I don't know what happened. As I indicated, we support peaceful protesting. So obviously there was an incident that we have to get into to determine exactly what those arrests were for. I'll be diving into that a little bit later, but today's briefing is about the incident involving the lieutenant.
All right, thank you.
All right.
Hi, Violet from the Free Press. Good to see you.
Hi, Violet.
I'm sorry, I'm basically going to parrot what he said, but I just want to make sure you won't share it. Are there any charges for those 2 folks?
I got to get into that,
Okay.
Violet. I need to spend, again, I focus on this. Arnold, do you have additional information on that? All right.
So of the 2 that were arrested, one was he was detained and housed because he wouldn't identify himself. After he identified himself, he was released and ticketed. The other individual, he is being charged with a felony.
Okay, and what would the felony be?
Assaulting a police officer.
Oh, okay. And then the ticketed and released, what would the citation be?
So I don't know the exact ordinance that was issued to that individual, but I know he was ticketed and released.
Okay.
We get that information back.
Well, no, the other 8, there were 8 that were detained, ticketed, and released.
The other 8, there were, so I don't have the exact number, but I'll get it to public info and they'll get that out to you.
Okay,
we do have
thank
the
you.
charges. I just don't know them off the top of my head.
And then in regards to if he was looking at her Instagram, I mean, does DPD even have a policy against, like, this is an officer who responds to protests. Is there any policy against, or is it encouraged to keep tabs on demonstrators that are going to pop up with protests in your city? Like, would it even have been wrong had he done that?
We're not keeping tabs on folks, but Instagram and social media, as it is, that is wide open and people are able to be tagged in things. We're going to look at all of that. We're going to look to see if was he tagged in something from somebody who saw him doing something, or saw, you know what I'm saying? Sometimes when things are posted, someone could say, they can put your name on it. And then all of a sudden, if you've got social media, it pops up on yours and he clicks on it. Does that cause him to know about it? Does that cause him to read our page? We'll be looking at every aspect of that. And if there's any policy violations, we'll make sure that we handle them accordingly. I also want to go back to what the DC said to bring a little bit of clarification. I think he misspoke when he said that he was detained because he wouldn't identify himself. He was detained for disorderly conduct. He was transported to the DDC because we didn't know who he was.
Got it. Okay.
And they went there and and was able to determine and make their decision from there.
One of the folks, the demonstrator said that somebody was tased while on the ground. Can you share anything about that?
Yeah, I can. I actually got into that because when I heard that, that was very concerning. I wanted to know who was tased and why. There was an attempted tasing. It did not take effect, and we're getting more information as to what the conduct was that led to the officer attempting to use the taser. But I was informed that it did not take effect. But I'm very concerned to see why was it attempted, and we'll find out.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, everyone.